40 Watters, welcome to this week's episode 40 Watt Podcast. I am your host, Philip. Very happy to be back with you. Now, here's the deal. Before we get started, there's some housekeeping we're going to take care of, but it is NAMM week. This episode is going out the Friday of NAMM. We're going to be making some guesses, so you're going to already know how wrong we were if we make some guesses and if we, those kinds of things. Just getting that out as it's going. First of all, let's thank the sponsors of this podcast. I want to thank Barry over at Grez Guitars, who I'm going to get to hang out with this week. I'm extremely excited to see the stuff he's cooked up. He has a couple of burned tops. I think he's bringing those. He's been working on this Japanese burning technique for guitar. It's wild. It looks so awesome. I'm very excited to see those. Go check out grezguitars.com. Also go check out his Instagram. I'm only a couple of weeks away from getting my Mendocino Jr. in my grubby little mitts. I'm very, very excited about it. Also want to thank Fuzz Imp Pedals. Justice over there in Oregon is making lots of fuzz. He makes lots of fuzz, y'all. If you want fuzz, if you want crazy stuff, if you want octave, if you want gates, the Machina 2 it's obscene. It is one of the coolest fuzzes. I think that fuzz has 3 gates on it. It might be 2, but I think it's 3. If you love fuzz, you owe it to yourself to go check out Fuzz Imp. Lastly, I want to thank Maynard over at Madsen Amplification. I've got his Somnium GE boost. I used it in my video talking about my Dr. Z Maz 38 a couple of weeks ago. It's just this great preamp or mids boost, treble booster style, germanium clipping. Maynard makes really, really cool stuff. He also builds heirloom quality tweed style amplifiers. You got to go check those out. All the links are down below. Also, thank you to all of the supporters over on Patreon. $5 a month, patreon.com/40watt podcast gets you this episode ad-free and a bonus episode every week. Awesome. Moving on, this week I have the one and only Mr. Joe Branton.
Hello there.
Hello, how are you, sir?
I'm good. It is good to be back podcasting in 2026. I always take more time off than you. You've been super on it, releasing episode after episode after episode.
This year, so the last couple of years have been, I don't know, they've just been tough, day job and other stuff and just mental health, those kinds of things. It's been stressful. But this year I decided I'm not going to make any more excuses. I want to take the podcast and the YouTube channel especially as seriously as I take everything else. And so I normally take January off, in all of January. I normally don't release anything. And I decided this year, I started the first Friday of the year was January 2nd, and I got an episode out.
Yeah. That is impressive. That is not bad. I have not been nearly as on it.
Yeah, wow. Y'all took a little time. The gear of the year takes a lot out of us.
That's true. Yeah, that is some heavy lifting in the Gear of the Year podcast series.
I think it's interesting when we do Gear of the Year. Now, have I been on 4 years worth of them now?
It's probably something like that. I think it may well be.
It's interesting because we're sort of. I feel like even though some's gone away, I still feel like it shifted back to a lot of big releases at NAMM, which means January or at least first quarter releases, and then we get to Gear of the Year in December, and we've forgotten about half of those.
Yes, that is definitely true. It's always the case. Is if you manage to release something in December, you're in with a much better chance of actually us still being excited about it, because half of it's hype. I still really resent no one letting me get away with the Big Muff 2. I feel like that was a huge release. It was a big deal for Electro Harmonix.
I agree that it's a big release, but I don't think it is. I just didn't think it was Gear of the Year territory.
Yeah, fair.
It's just one of those, and one of those. I know they made like 6,000 of them or 5,300, whatever it is, of the big box ones. Right? They're still for sale. They haven't sold them all. So I mean, I get that a $250 Big Muff is a lot for some people. It's an
Yeah, I mean,
expensive
how much
big
is
muff.
the standard one, big box from Electronics? Like
I think
$80, something
I
like
think
that?
I bought one used at Guitar Center for like $40 a couple
Yeah.
of years ago, you know?
That's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if it's different, even if it's a different circuit, every big muff's different, they tell me. They all sound like a big muff to me. I'm gonna get a lot of haters for that comment. But it's not a circuit that's ever been, like, really on my radar.
No?
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, and of
Well,
course, our pick of the Gretsch White Falcon, the Synchromatic was controversial.
yeah, oh yeah, I definitely got a lot of flack for that. I got some private messages from people unhappy with the
Yeah.
selection, and some not so private messages, but that's totally fine. That's what Gear of the Year is about, is everyone having their opinion. But it was popular with listeners in general. When we did the listener poll, it also featured quite highly. And maybe there are more. It was a muted year. I'm not sure in past years a Gretsch Falcon, an affordable Gretsch Falcon, would have got up there, but honestly, there wasn't an awful lot to choose from that was wild. It felt like a year that had been, I don't know. It just been fendered, like just mundane Stratocasters in different coral colors. That was the year. That was 2025. Just 20 different versions of the same thing from Fender, and maybe like in previous years, more interesting, creative things. I mean, even that Johnny Dibble actually did an interesting video on YouTube recently, calling out this fact. He was calling out Fender, sort of playful way, but looking back at 2013, when they had the Pawn Shop series,
Yeah.
they were messing around with. They also had like a modern. I feel like it was called Modern Player series, which were Fenders made in China, which were also oddball. You think back then they were. It was just you were getting like Cabranitas, reverse Jaguars. It was the first time, and I know they currently do it in the Squire range. That little bass, the Rascal bass, came out around then, but with Dan Electro pickups in it. It was
Yep.
everything that Fender were doing was interesting, trying new stuff. Parallel Universe occurred a couple of years afterwards,
Mhm.
and they had another range with a similar name. I can't remember.
The
Uh,
Paranormal series is the
Paranormal.
Squire stuff. Yeah.
Right, yeah, that's it. Yeah, and then there was another one for Fender with a similar name. But they were just trying new things, and now it is just an awful lot of Strats that look a little bit like John Mayer's Silver Sky.
Well, I agree. I think that's been a lot. I remember also that time period, because I had an Excelsior. What a cool amp.
What an amazing app!
Like 12 watts,
Yep,
only volume only, no tone control, 15-inch speaker, tremolo,
tremolo.
and it had the split configuration where the preamp was in the top of the cabinet, the
Mhm.
power amp was in the bottom of the cabinet, like old school, uh, I had like old K and Harmony amps and stuff like that.
And it had a foot switchable everything bypass, so you hit
Yep.
the foot switch and it turned it up to full volume.
Yeah.
It was just brilliant. Oh
I
no,
think
maybe that was the vaporizer. I don't know if the
Oh, that was the
Excelsior had that.
vaporizer, which
Yeah,
was a
sorry.
210.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. What was the
The
Excelsior? A 115.
115.
Yeah. So
It's
cool.
so cool. And of course, my favorite of that series is actually the one I never owned. Cause I mean, the Excelsior I owned was something I stumbled across probably actually in a pawn shop. But my favorite aesthetically was the Rampart.
The Rampart with the blonde sides and
Yeah.
that was great.
It looked so cool. I may have to track one down.
Do even when you talk about those things, you look back at Fender around that time period, and they were doing so many like FSR Blues Juniors in like two-tone finishes, and there were different colors and interesting things. Ways to have original equipment from Fender, it seemed to
Mhm.
be really common. I know we still have FSR. There's still lots of FSR stuff. I realize Fender Japan is absolutely on form, but the criticism is just of the main stuff is just very boring at the moment. It used to be
So
incredible.
So I think that leads to something that's kind of been in the news recently. Listeners, by the time this comes out, it's super old. Everybody's talked about it. Um, Fender does have a new CEO. Um, uh, their previous CEO, whose name I can't even recall, which is
Andy
okay.
Mooney.
Andy Mooney, that's it. Has stepped down, retired, uh, gone out to pasture. That sounds actually more ominous than it is. Um, but they've promoted Bud from the Fender Asia Pacific, which means he was over that Japanese line that Joe we've talked about on
Yeah.
episodes of the Guitar Nerds podcast.
Yeah.
When they
Yeah.
came out with the Star Master, which was the weird two-tone Jazz Master with a Starcaster headstock.
Yeah. It was them
Like,
doing a Novo.
yeah, yeah, and it was cool. It was
Yeah, it's great.
extremely cool. Um, I do you think he's gonna? You think he's gonna bring some of that?
A
Like,
couple of things I like about this guy. I mean, I hate like the higher ups at Fender because it's such a horrible corporation. It's like the least rock and roll thing ever. Like Andy Moody when he did his photo shoot for Fender, and it's him holding like a gold Telecaster sat in a throne made out of Disney toys because he came from Disney. If you
yeah,
don't know.
yeah, yeah.
He invented the Disney princess dress, the fancy dress, like idea for kids. It made millions out of it, but it's I can't think of anything more like you're clearly a piece, aren't you, mate? Like just sitting in a throne made of toys with a guy. It's like you are. I bet you're like Christian Bale in American Psycho. That's the sort of vibe he always gave me.
Yeah,
But
well, I
this,
mean, Bud's promo photo wasn't much better.
it's not. It is like a promo photo out of an early 80s business thing. He's wearing like a businessman suit, but with the button, his shirt button done up like below his pectorals. It's bad. It's
It
bad,
immediately gave me high school senior photo.
Yeah,
like vibes.
It's the most robotic smile you will ever see as well. Like it looks like he's trying to do an impression of a human smiling. But but that said, I think an internal promotion from Fender, that's good. That's great. He's actually coming in. He's part of the company. Is invested in the company. He's not just a businessman being flown in. He's invested in the company. That's good. And the fact that he was in charge of the stuff for Fender that's been amazing, like the bricks and mortar shop in Japan, like all of the incredible Japan only market guitars and amps that they get. Let's not forget like the reintroduction of Hello Kitty and those pedals, which was incredibly huge. Probably Fender's biggest thing from last year. He's overseen a lot of that. So I'm kind of when you think of his achievements there, sort of makes sense that they've given him this role. And I hope he brings some of that creativity to Fender entire. But we'll see.
That's what I'm hoping. I hope that means that Fender is going to branch out a little bit because nobody has to tell the public or convince the public that Fender makes Stratocasters and Telecasters. You don't you make them awesome. That's great. We know that. Prove that you can do something else. And I realize being a Gibson fanboy, Gibson's in the same boat, and I realize that
are they? I don't know. I feel like Gibson have been incredible this year.
I think they have. There have, but somebody was pointing out to me the other day where they were like, is the only semi-hollow that Gibson makes the 335 and 339? Is that it? I was like, no, they make the 225. Nope, that's discontinued. That was quietly discontinued. And the 330, I guess, but that body shape is the only one. They don't even make a standard 175 anymore.
That is concerning.
Yeah, I looked on their website, could not find a big box jazz hollow body at all outside of Custom Shop. Could not find anything other than 335, 339, and then the variations 330, 345, 355 in the range, and some artist models, to be honest, not even in a standard. They don't offer the 225, so they don't offer anything semi-hollow in a single cut anymore. Standard. So I say this about Fender, but then also, Gibson, both are victims of themselves and their fan base, right? I think Gibson is more so a victim of their fan base. They nothing else sells for them. Their fan base wants Les Pauls, SGs, 335s.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't even make a Firebird in the standard line except for the Platypus. That's the only Firebird they make standard in Gibson's line.
That's a shame. I feel like Gibson have been focusing a lot on Epiphone over the last little while. They've really turned that. I know that's also kind of come with its own criticism because people, and we've spoken about this a bunch
Yeah,
over
we've
on
talked about
Guitar
this at
Nerds,
length.
but just to I guess hit the bullet points for this one. Epiphone make great guitars, but it's been very tricky for them to introduce guitars at the $1,000 mark because people are annoyed that they think of Epiphone like a $500 mark brand, but Epiphone have never actually changed from doing those entry level things. They do all of those things. They're just also introducing better built stuff. And whilst you might think of $1,000 as a lot for an Epiphone, I feel like, yeah, I wish they were all cheaper as well, but they're not on their own in that. That's the same price as I guess sort of like Reverend's cheaper PRSs, Fenders at that entry level. Everything is hitting that price point now. They haven't randomly started charging too much. It's comparable with other brands making guitars in the Far East
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
It used to be the case. Yes, Eastern built guitars used to be $500. It is not the case anymore. So
Not at all. And I think I can't remember who I was listening to. So it may have been Guitar Nerds, may have been y'all's episode, but I don't think it was. But somebody talked about Eastern manufacturing in general. And they were talking about the fact that because of especially China,
mhm.
um, Chinese media blackouts of all things Western, they didn't get the rock and roll revolution that Europe and America got, right? They didn't get the Beatles. They didn't get rock and roll. They didn't get blues. They didn't get all of that music till much, much, much later. And so the Chinese manufacturing now, and we're going to lump in Taiwan, Korea, Indonesia, the Eastern manufacturing bloc. They are really hitting their stride that America hit decades ago.
Yeah, that's
They
it.
have they've got the techniques. They've been doing it long enough. They've got people who have been doing it long enough to be experts at it now.
Mhm.
Not that they were never doing it, but Japan obviously has been making guitars since the 50s and 60s. But in China and Taiwan and Korea and Indonesia, they've now got people who have spent their entire career building guitars and learning all the techniques and passing those things on to new builders. And you're seeing that quality improvement,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
just cycling over and over again. And until you're seeing the things like Epiphone is putting out now and is capable of putting out. Cortec, the stuff that's coming out of their manufacturing for PRS. Um,
Yeah, unbelievable.
the
I
the
mean,
Fender Indonesian standards are great guitars.
yeah. Yeah, I am sure they are. And, you talk about those, you mentioned those PRSs for NAMM 2026. They've got a couple of new things. I think there's a new vintage Cherry DGT and there's a Swamp Ash a special, which
Yeah.
is their HSH maple neck. They're doing it in like a this gorgeous sort of through blue finish. I don't know what it is. Because I'm looking at an English site, so it's listed at 269. So I guess probably 999 US, which is just wild to be able to get something like that from PRS at that price point. I think that's very good.
Yeah, and the S2 series isn't import, that's American made in Baltimore, but they're even doing things there with the just as an aside, that Vela HHT looks
Yeah,
really cool. A
yeah. The
dual
Vela is
humbucker
very
Vela with a
good.
trim. Come on.
Yeah,
Come on. But you're right. The import market and the import guitars that are being made now they're not the guitars I grew up with. They're definitely not the guitars the generation before us grew up coming out of that market. They are proper, well-built, the Indonesian made Fenders. Well, I think we talked about them on Guitar Nerds and we slagged them a little bit, but you know what? I played them. They're great. They're fine. They're really, really good guitars. I think they're very good guitars for the price point. They're just a little boring, and that's
yeah. That's it.
okay.
Yeah.
They can be boring.
Yeah,
They're
I think for the younger player, which is who they're aimed at, if you want something that's like just professional enough for you to play, I mean, and still not spend a lot of money, because you think around that price you'd go Squire, but really around that price we're talking about Squire Classic Vibe. So you've got to be into vintage appointments, which often means weird bridges, weird radiuses. Well, actually, I think they normally do 9 to 5 on most of the classic 5, but still, it's something with some vintage quirks, whether that's truss rod access, probably on those, things like that are a little trickier that we accept. We go, well, this is fine. I don't mind that this doesn't work well, that this is more difficult because I love the look of the vintage stuff. But for a young player who's maybe doesn't care about that heritage stuff, what they want is something they can trust, they can gig, they can learn on, they can throw on their back and not worry about when they're getting the train or the bus to and from school and band practice. And I think something with Fender on the headstock at that very affordable price point, as much as it's not for us, I guess
Right.
it's important to appreciate the difference between a bad guitar and a good guitar that is not for us.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important to talk about. Because when you're talking about a lot of these import guitars, you're talking about guitars that we would have been interested in 20 years ago when we were still, fledgling guitarists and
Yep.
bassists
Yeah.
and really before we had bought and sold and traded our way into some of our favorite instruments that we have today. Um, if the Squire of my youth had been as good as the Squire of today, I might have delayed that process of upgrading a little longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't have felt the need
Or even
immediately.
switching to Gibson,
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I ultimately switched to Gibson when my Strat got stolen, and I never found another one that I connected with.
You told me before, but what was your first Gibson?
My very first Gibson was it's actually I still have it. I've owned that guitar officially this year 20 years. Um, it was a Gibson ES 135. Um,
It's
actually, I'm
so
about to mod
weird.
it.
It's
I'm about to mod
so
it.
weird. It's such a weird first Gibson.
I'm about to make it weirder too,
Oh,
Joe. I bought, in fact, I've got them here on my desk. Um, I've got the covers and the base plates to convert the P90s to dog ear P90s
oh,
instead
that's
of soap
cool.
bar. And I am going to I've got a Bigsby that'll be delivered unfortunately tomorrow as I'm flying to California. So I'm going to do a video about modding it. Mostly I wanted to add a Bigsby. Obviously the P90 change is a pure aesthetic change. I just like the look of dog ear P90s. I watched like 4 videos and I talked to actually sponsor this podcast, Barry. I messaged Barry because no one ever I could not find a picture of the dog ear base plate next to the soap bar base plate because I didn't know if they would because the dog ears
Yeah,
settle into the hole
right.
of the guitar and I was like, are they too big? Am I gonna have to like route out wood to do it? And then I'm like,
You don't want to do
I'm
that.
already adding 4 screw holes to the top of this guitar. I don't know that I also want to do any extra routing. So I texted Barry, and Barry was like, "Nope, they're the same size. They just have the wings on the side to hold them sort of suspended over the hole." So it's like, awesome, I can do this. So, but yeah, that's my first
That's
guitar. I still have
exciting.
it. I don't play it as much because I have some things I love more. But I did think about selling it for a little while, even listed it for a little bit. But ultimately, that's the guitar I've had the longest. I've had it 20 years. I don't have my first guitar, any of my first couple of guitars anymore. So, um, we'll see. I'm really excited to get that done. I'll do a video on it about the upgrade to upgrade, quote unquote. Some people think putting a Bigsby on it is like the coup de grace to its usefulness as a guitar, but I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
So me too. So overall, just what we're seeing now. Obviously, this episode's coming out. All the NAMM releases are out.
Yeah, it's
Y'all
all
seen all the
happened.
things. It's Friday of NAMM, which means, there's been a whole day and nobody is delaying a release to the second day of NAMM. No one's waiting till Friday. Um, but there are some pre-release things. We're looking over at Anderton's. Anderton's does a page of all of the NAMM 2026 releases. Although Joe, we should be honest. It's all of the NAMM 2026 releases that they sell.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
that is important. This isn't a great resource because we're shy all the interesting stuff. But small brands doing cool, interesting little things. I don't know where we're going to see that other than waiting for the NAMM show. There's no way of getting good advances on that sort of thing.
no, they don't hire press PR companies to
No.
send out embargoed emails
Mm.
and,
Well,
like
I'm
the
very envious. You're gonna have to wander around that pedal floor
yeah.
and really dig up the cool, interesting, weird stuff that's gonna come out.
I'm gonna be at Woodwire Volts on well, as this comes out, I have been to Woodwire Volts on Thursday. They're doing a 3-hour pre-show window for media badge holders.
That's
So
great.
gonna get to go over there, get an early look at all the vendors that are over there. Um, we'll talk about Woodwire Volt a little bit. I'm going to pull up this site, Joe. I think this is a good one for us to have a chat about, considering that it's old news by the time we're talking.
Mhm.
Let me try to put this link in the chat so that you can find it.
Thank you.
So, this is where I think all the weird stuff is. This is a Woodwire Volts. So, it started last year. Last year was the first year. And as I understand it, talking with Chris from R2R, it was a brainchild of Curtis Novak over at Novak Pickups. Wanted to have something similar to the effector market that happens on Saturdays, but wanted something bigger, like for guitar brands and pickup brands, and there's at least one amp company. There's another amplifier company that will be there, but they really limit it to one amp company because it's a small space and they
Yeah.
don't want to get too loud. But they've got a few, they've got a couple others. It's at it's a wedding venue is where,
Is it?
where it is. It's at the Colony House in Anaheim. It's a wedding venue. So it's not the biggest place, but this year they've like tripled the number of brands that are there.
It's also unbelievably curated.
Yeah.
This is guitar nerdery to an extreme. Every single guitar brand is the best guitars. The one amp brand, Satellite, that are going to be there, make incredible stuff. The pedals are all interesting and cool. And also, from my perspective, maybe less for you, but as an Englishman, a lot of brands that I don't know about. There's the big hitters. Obviously, Lola will be there, and Chase Bliss, Keeley, Fender Custom Shop, Built, Frank Brothers. We know those, but there are loads of interesting brands that I don't know about, like Abernethy, that look amazing, and I love the name,
Yeah.
and Tone Ranger, which look absolutely gorgeous, like everything I've ever wanted.
They're so let's pause at Tone Ranger because I love these guitars. They are I'm gonna pull up the website so I can talk about them as we're looking at some of these. Um, Tone Ranger guitars are made by a guy named Jeff. Jeff and I we've scheduled a podcast once and it had to get postponed because of time constraints. We really wanted to try to get an episode in pre-NAMM, but he's getting ready for NAMM and we couldn't really, so this is me getting a chance to talk about his guitars.
Hmm. Do you know where he's based?
He is based in Southern California.
Right.
And he is very conscientious. All of his guitars are made out of woods that can be locally sourced in Southern California.
I see. Hence the
He's
cactuses as his
yeah.
F-holes, right?
Yeah, and so he's very Western themed. If you meet Jeff, if you get to meet him, he very much lives his aesthetic. He has one of the largest cowboy hats I've ever seen that he wears. Um, it's a whole thing, and all of the model names are things like High Horse and Show Pony and Sunset Rider, Desert Star, Rodeo Queen, Double Barrel. Um, they're really, really cool guitars. It's not going to be everyone's aesthetic. I'm just going to say that right off the jump. It's not going to be everyone's aesthetic, but I love his dedication to a theme
Yeah.
and to
Totally.
an idea. And there's a part of me that loves that like sense of place that he has in I'm going to use woods that I can find
Love
here
it.
where I'm from.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, those kind of brands. And Joe, some of these brands I only know of because I went last year or because I've been to things like Fretboard Summit.
Yeah. Yeah. It very much
Yeah.
looks like that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, even like pedal brands, I'm flicking through this and there's not one electronic audio experiments I know, but we just don't see them over here in
Sure.
my neck of the woods. Amped, I don't know them at all. Baltimore Sonic Research Institute, which is an incredible name for an
What
effects
a
pedal
great
company.
name.
I love it so
If
much.
they don't look like mid-century atomic tech, then I don't want anything to do with them.
Yeah. Damnation, I don't know them either, Damnation Audio, but yeah, just everything there looks absolutely incredible and
Yeah,
kind of sort of themed as well. It all seems to have a very specific aesthetic, maybe with the exception of Motanda and uh, I think it's Madden. Madda,
yeah, Mata.
which are very
Um,
modern. I mean, they look also gorgeous, amazing, interesting, but very, very modern. So very much a different aesthetic from the Americana of the rest of the things there.
yeah. They're very different. Um, I've talked about Motander guitars on this podcast before because Justin Motander and his dad are friends, and they made the weird um like Arduino in a Tupperware container tremolo that I have. They're the ones
Yeah,
who made that
yeah,
for me.
amazing.
And he's based in San Diego, and he builds just some of the rad. I got to show you. I'll send you some pictures after the episode because I had to hunt them down
Hmm.
of some of the bases he's made. His bases look so cool, Joe. They're not a 60 Sal P bass, so I get it. But I think you'll appreciate them.
All right.
Um, this show is it's just one of the coolest shows. I don't know how they're going to fit all of these people at the show.
There are so
I
many brands.
There's so many brands. I think there's going to be a lot of table sharing where they've got an 8-foot table and they got two pedal brands taking up 4 feet of it, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'll see on Thursday. I will have seen by the time this episode comes out.
So is it quite a small space then?
It's small for this many brands.
Right. I
Well, I
see.
won't call it a small space because it's not the tiniest place ever. But it it feels small because it really did have a third of this number of brands last year, if not less. So it's definitely grown. It's gotten bigger. I think next year, I don't think there's any way they could hold it in the same location if it continues to grow. And there are some brands. I want to talk about this. So NAMM Show Notorious listeners, if you're listening to this podcast, you're nerdy enough to know that you can't sell at NAMM. Like it's a trade show that you can't trade. Uh, it's a um at things like Woodwire Volts and Effector Market, you can because they don't have those
I
same
didn't know that.
constraints.
That's good.
Yes.
Yes.
So last year I attended. The only thing I managed to buy was a set of Castadosa humbuckers at Woodwire Volts last year
Right. I
that
see.
are in one of my Les Pauls. Where was I going? Oh, there are some brands that are exhibiting at all three events: Woodwire
Really?
Volts, NAMM, and Effector Market. Polly Loki is going to somehow be in 3 places at once. He did it last year at 2 locations, and I saw him at both locations. It wasn't like, "Oh, this person handled this over there for him." I He's got a time turner or something. I don't maybe he's developed teleportation, I don't know. But he was at Woodwire Volts and the NAMM floor whenever I was at near his booth.
Right. Okay.
And it's a weird thing. There are a couple other brands that are exhibiting at both. I don't know how many are exhibiting at 3 things like Poly is. For example, Maris is going to be at Woodwire Volts, but they're also going to be at the Effector Market on Saturday morning, Saturday noon-ish.
Makes sense to do them all if you can, especially as a pedal brand. Just,
Yeah.
you've got the ability to just float around between those things. Definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, I think so. So as we're going over, Woodwire Volts is maybe my thing I'm most excited about, even more so than the NAMM floor.
Totally.
And seeing friends. Seeing friends is the big deal. We say that plenty. Is there anything that is coming out that you're particularly excited about? That or maybe you know about that is going to be released by the time this episode comes out, or is has already been released?
I think we're at the moment, a lot of the press releases have been kept pretty close to people's chest this year.
Yeah.
I think that's because every year there's always leaks. So I think a lot of brands are choosing to not send out press releases. And because that's the only way I'm going to see stuff, there's definitely less this year than I'm aware of than ever before. So uh, I think it's less a case of new things that are coming out. I would be things I am interested to see, and what they would do are um, and this would sound mundane, so I guess this is maybe not quite what you were looking for. But going on a little bit of a string journey, so I'm really excited to see what Labella bring to the table, because I know they're going to
Oh,
be introducing some more stuff, and I love Labella strings. I was just as we were checking out the Gabrielle Tenorio strings that are going to be at the Woodwire Vaults show as well. They look really interesting, really cool. I love a small little, you know, retro style string company. That sounds very interesting. Um, and I guess I've also again, this isn't our flavor, but I really appreciate it being added to the lineup. Boss just introduced their GX1 series and
yeah.
GX1B, which I got to make the presets for on the GX1B, or some of the presets that are on there, which was good, because I was actually able to, you know, preset the compressors to actually sound like compressors on most of the things. So rather than making them transparent, I made them really really over the top. So that was a
Really
cool thing.
squishy, really
Yeah,
squishy.
exactly. And I kind of like it's like it's going to be like $300, and it's got everything you need, and you can control it off of an app. I think for beginners, there's never been anything as good, as advanced. I mean, if I was, we talk about the quality of Squires now, or the quality of starter guitars now. Look at look at this, a battery powered multi effects and amp sim that you can control from your phone or from desktop app, that has all your amps, all your cab sims, all your effects, everything you ever need, runs on batteries and costs $300, and it's made by Boss, one of the most highly respected effects companies out there. I think that's pretty bad.
Yeah, I think it's super cool. It doesn't, it doesn't excite me
No, of
because
course. No,
we
none
know
of
who
us
I
are going to
am.
get. Yeah, exactly.
I'll admit, even when I was learning guitar, well, a buddy of mine had one of the big yellow Digitech amp effects modeler things. I can't remember what those are called. Maybe they didn't even have amps. Maybe it was just effects. And I remember playing it and going, that doesn't sound good. I'm just gonna be honest. Not that the Boss doesn't, because it probably sounds great. And looking back, I bet that Digitech sounded better than I remember. It didn't sound like what I thought electric guitar would sound like.
Sure,
You
sure.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, the things that I guess are more us, something I am would love to check out, is the new Ian Martin Allison Walrus Audio Mantle, which is like an analog preamp DI pedal. Dear listener, so it's like it's gonna. I think it's gonna be close to $1,000, and it is, they've made their own proprietary transformer based on a Neve. So we know what it's going to be, but it's, the idea is it's a perfect, super high quality bass DI, something to rival brands like Caveman Audio and the Noble DI. So it's Walrus doing something like that, and teaming up with someone who has consistently released amazing high quality signature gear, Ian Martin Allison. So the
mhm.
Walrus mantle will be very cool. And I do hope you get to check this out, because I wish I'd got to check this out sooner. I need to call the marketing manager for Vox in the UK. Actually lives in the same town as me, so I need to give him a shout, because I am excited about the new Vox treble booster and fuzz that they'll be putting out.
Yeah,
If
I
nothing
those
else,
look really
from a
tempting.
it's just from an aesthetic perspective, they look awesome, and I've got a soft spot for Vox, even though I know they're not really the company that they used to be. But
No, but that's okay though. That it's, all companies evolve and change, and you know, I mean, Fender's owned by a Hawaiian car dealership. So, uh, they're not exactly the brand, people in the 60s knew them as either. Uh, so they've done a treble booster in a foot switchable box.
Mhm.
The photos, listeners, of the pedal on their website show it next to an original Rangemaster. So I'm assuming that's the precise vibe they're going for. They also, the fuzz, I was trying to find that one because that was the one that I thought was the most interesting. The VFZ1 or
And so we can all guess what it
VFZ1.
is. Yeah. But
Yeah. We don't have to guess very hard to know exactly what it is. That one I'm extremely interested in trying. So I'm gonna go over to the Vox booth and for sure try to play these. I'll play them as loud as I can before they run me out. Because they're in the wide open normally where the Vox booth is. So
yeah. Yeah.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about, and we can only speculate at this point. But Neural DSP launched a
I
video
didn't
on
know
their
if you were going to do
Facebook.
this.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about it. We're going to talk
Okay.
about it a
All
little
right.
bit
All right.
because they released a video yesterday, Sunday, as we're recording. We're recording on Monday before NAMM, and it's a vertical video, and in it is just dark, and it shows a lit up screen. You can't see what's on the screen at all, and the word soon, and it is. People are throwing out everything possible in the comment section as to what they think it is.
Well, it has to be hardware. We know that.
I I, I would think so, but it could also be. I mean, there's a lot it could be because it looks like, as many people in the comments say, it looks like a quad cortex screen, and everything else is dark. It's really hard to see exactly what it is. Some of my some all of the funniest comments are some archetype that doesn't make any sense for a pedal brand. Like somebody said, "I want archetype Bob Ross." Uh, it could be releasing um more plugins to the quad cortex.
Mhm. Sure.
Which doesn't feel like a let's be mysterious NAMM release, right? I don't know if you found the video.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen it.
yeah, it's just it's looping right now. So I'm wondering, because I'm going to be really honest, and I don't know if anyone from Yamaha Line 6 listens to this podcast. It it really feels like quad cortex I use quad cortex and neural interchangeably, and I really need to stop that. It seems like neural has been targeting their releases and their updates, not that they could do this without knowing, around line 6, because line 6, well, we talked about this I think on the Guitar Nerds podcast, I think on the Guitar Gear of the Year podcast, how the line 6 Helix shipped, the new Helix Stadium shipped, and Neural launched the big 2.0 firmware release for the quad cortex on the same day. And then line 6 launches their first major update for the Helix Stadium, and the John Mayer Neural plugin launches. And
Their
now
biggest ever
NAMM,
plugin.
yeah, they're big. I really want to know the first day sales on that plugin. I want to know. Um, I need to know what that was on the first day. And now here they are teasing a big release at NAMM. The last time they did the whole soon thing, which some people are apparently in the comments getting sick of, they had the big sign at NAMM that instead of a booth, they just had a big 7-8 foot tall, I don't know, 12-foot wide sign that said soon.
I loved that. I thought that was great. I mean, that was
Yeah.
probably expensive, but
Yeah.
a great marketing.
That's a lot of money for a sign.
Hmm.
But I'm trying to remember now. Was that the Nano Cortex release?
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Yeah.
I think that was the Nano Cortex release. So here they are throwing soon out again. Is it Quad Cortex 2.0? Like hardware 2.0? Is it a more compact quad cortex? Is it I think it's gotta be hardware. The use of soon again means it has to be hardware. So, listeners, by now you probably know
Yeah,
what it
they
is.
already know, so
I know.
they're just
They're just
shouting it.
listening to us. They're yelling at their screens, or they don't know because the release actually got delayed.
No,
So,
I don't think they'll delay this one. This one, I know that they do that sometimes, but not around a NAMM launch. I think what they release will win NAMM. You know, something always wins NAMM. Something's always the biggest thing there. I think I can't see it being anything other than.
I think if Quad Cortex, say I did it again, if Neural releases new hardware at NAMM this year, it will undoubtedly win NAMM and probably end up being something we talk about in December for
Mhm,
Gear of the Year.
mhm. How are you? What do you think about Cortex at the moment? Where are you sitting on it? Because you kind of come on and off digital stuff.
Yeah.
You were Helix for a long time.
Mhm.
Where,
Right now right now I'm using, Fractal. I'm still on Fractal. I like the Axe effects. It's really simple. It's easy. I say it's simple. Some people talk about how complicated it is. I don't find it complicated. I I programmed the MIDI in it one day and realized this is the most intuitive MIDI interface I've ever dealt with.
right? Mm.
And some people complain all about the MIDI. To me, it just works. The only time I ever hate it is if I have to do editing on the face of the unit.
Right, I see.
The editor, the PC editor or the computer editor, Mac or PC, is really straightforward, really easy to understand. So I guess if you're only using the face of the unit to do anything, it could be complicated.
Is
But
yeah, yeah. I've never really found that with Quad Cortex. I always found like I've never even downloaded the proprietary stuff for the desktop. I've always found using it on the actual unit itself totally fine.
yeah, I've used the Quad Cortex a couple of times, friends units that I was just, having a go while I was hanging out with them. I like it. I have not tried obviously the 2.0, and the 2.0 sounds do get me interested.
Yeah.
I have some friends who have them and they're really, really dialed into them. I'll probably give them another shot. I also want to get into once the studio is built, I want to get into doing some amp captures because I have a lot of amps here and I have I have access to a lot of amps and I think it'd be kind of nice if I could capture these amps or capture other amps I have access to make them available to people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's kind of a big thing. The 2.0 thing, I was like, "Wow, this is really awesome and exciting," and I realized quite quickly it wasn't especially for me. Um,
Mhm.
the there wasn't especially and like I was like, well, I never had a problem with the other ones. The normal ones are totally fine. I get it for people who are super into capturing, and I love that they're there as an option. I kind of really like that they've also updated the graphics for 2.0, the way they sit on a screen. It makes it easier to understand what's in your effects chain rather than there's just a generic capture icon. And so it's nice that they're now they say fuzz or they say, sort of what they are. So I'm like, right, I know what that is in the chain without having to just remember off the top of my head.
Right.
I think it was a super cool update. I get it for some people. The regular ones are totally fine for me. But
So, I think the biggest thing was they updated their capture tech in general, the software coding. Scott, my buddy Scott from the formerly of the Effects Loop podcast has a quad cortex. He uses it a lot. He had been using it on a pedal board because he likes the Hudson broadcast, and the quad cortex could not capture the broadcast properly. He had another
really,
fuzz.
oh, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
just because there's something about that transformer fuzz, almost fuzz thing that it just had trouble replicating. He had a couple of other drive pedals and fuzz pedals that it just couldn't get a hold of. It couldn't replicate them. He has come back since the 2.0 release and said, "I actually like the captures better than the actual pedals now because they give me the sound, but they're less noisy. They're quieter than the actual effects pedal."
It's very handy, like that sort of element of digital noise gating, which can without having to have a dedicated pedal on an analog board, just quietening everything down. It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. So I'm a little curious again to try one. I don't know if I'm curious enough to buy one. That's where I am right now. I may find somebody willing to let me borrow theirs for a little bit and give it a go, give it a run, and see what it sounds like, see what I like.
The update, actually, for me, the 2.0 update, was more beneficial for nano cortex than quad cortex, or at least, yes, yeah, it was, because it opened up, it turned nano cortex into a different device. When it came to sort of MIDI switching, I thought that was a huge thing for nano
Hmm.
cortex. Before, you could just scroll between presets, which I don't think most people use multi-effect switches like this for presets anymore. People use it on quad cortex. They call it scenes. On I can't remember what
Right.
they called it on
Snapshots
Helix.
on
Snapshot
Helix.
on Helix. Yeah, people want to build a board and then turn certain things on and off. For a start, it's quicker. It means your foot switching is going to be instant rather than there being a slight delay whilst things load up. But also, generally speaking, halfway through a song, you don't want to change your amp. You probably want your amp to be the same. So you don't want to reload that every single time. And also, if I tweak my amp in a live setting, I want that to apply to every single patch then. I don't then want to have to go through and just remember where I moved the gain setting to on each one and dial that in on every single patch. So Nano Cortex was always problematic because it could only do those presets. So if you wanted to have the same amp model with a different effect in front of it, you just had to drop it in separately and hope you never have to change them, which really is not like that's how stuff was back, 10 years ago. It shouldn't be how where we are now. So they've opened it up. So with a MIDI switcher, you can now control all of the effects as individual. You can turn them on and off as individual stomp boxes, and you can also assign tone or volume changes on your amp models as well. So it works. It's a bit closer. It's still insanely limited, and I will never understand why they put out something with this amount of restrictions. It's a great product. It really is. But as soon as you try and go any deeper than just wanting a digital replication of an amplifier on it, there starts to be limitations.
Yeah. I I do, and I think that's at least the most recent update shows me that's something they see is those
Yeah,
limitations, and
yeah.
that'll be shifting, hopefully, even more in the future. I do wonder, and I don't like sensationalist taglines or headlines, listeners. I have no idea what the title of this episode is going to be. Joe likes to title his podcast ahead of time, and then hope you actually talk about the thing that you titled them.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have no idea, but like I feel like there could be an argument for, like, is Neural king of the digital amp right now? As much as Helix is so embedded, I think for a long time Helix was embedded because they were the more, or Line 6 was the affordable option, but that was also high quality. But now the prices are competitive. You're starting to see Quad Cortex and Neural in similar marketplaces. They're sold on Sweetwater and they're sold on. I think that's why Fractal will never be the thing,
'Cause it's
because you
direct.
can't go. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
direct. It's only direct only,
Yeah.
and so no one's gonna walk into their Guitar Center and shoot the three of them out and decide on one.
No.
You know?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. That is a real limitation for Fractal. I think you're right. I think the other problem Line 6 have is as fantastic a product as it is, Stadium just hasn't made the impact that I guess they wanted it to. And I do think it's the price. I don't think people want to drop £2,000 on an effects. But the thing is, when you're looking at $1,000, $1,500, whatever a Quad Cortex is, or whatever the original Helix 4 was, that's a comparable price to having to buy a power supply, 8 pedals, maybe a switcher. So you choose the route not based on price, on preference. But
Right.
now we're looking at £2,000 for a stadium. I'm like, well, it would, unless you have a massive pedal board, you're probably going to spend less than this going the analog route. So
Yeah.
it just
And by then, at $2,200 in the US, 1,800 for the smaller unit. But $2,200 for the full-fledged with the pedal, then you've still got to deal with, well, I need something to carry it in. I need, whether that's a hard case or the backpack or some kind of soft case. You start adding things on top of it. And despite the update to it, the Quad Cortex is still, I'm looking up prices live, listeners. That's what I'm doing. Um, the Quad Cortex brand new is still $1,800.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's the same price as the
Right. I
smaller
see. I
Helix,
see. Okay. All right.
essentially.
That's slightly sort of was my argument. Excuse me.
But I don't think you're wrong. And looking at a footprint size, I think the Quad Cortex is still smaller. I think.
It is, yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It definitely is. I mean, almost to its detriment. The pedals are very close together. I mean,
that's always been your biggest complaint. We've talked about on the
I
podcast.
hate it so much. Oh, it's so annoying because I've started gigging it and not gigging it yet, but started taking it to band practice, and I haven't. I will learn. I spoke to Max at Neural DSP about this, and I was like, "It's my number one thing." Yeah, like years ago when it came out, I was like, "I'll never use it because the pedals are uselessly close together," and he was like, "You just need to learn to be more careful." When he's doing it, I was like,
Has he ever seen you
good
play
point.
live?
Yeah.
Has he ever seen video of you actually playing?
That is a good point. But the Quad Cortex has several problems that Line 6 doesn't. That's the reason Line 6 has lasted as long as it has with its normal sort of Helix and HX Stomp. The Quad Cortex, it might look well built, and it is in some ways. In other ways, it really isn't. I think there are countless cases of people Velcroing their Quad Cortex to their pedal boards, taking it off, and the back panel bending off of the pedal because it's the Velcro is stronger than the metal on the back of the chassis. There are also companies making third-party screen covers because you can't gig it without a screen cover. It would be silly. There are companies making and they sell them on Toman, on like big retailers, like their little sort of gloves, little hooks for the power supply, because the power supply on Quad Cortex is so flimsy. So
Yeah, I don't like that. I
it's a
really
lot.
wish it was a full IEC
Yeah.
connection.
Of course, but it's a little lock on the for the actual power supply at the top, as well as them doing sort of separate. You can get these little battery packs that are designed to, because another problem of Quad Cortex that Helix doesn't have is it is a full 2 minutes when you turn on a Quad Cortex for it to load. If you are playing a venue and there is a short power cut, and the thing is, we do play venues at lower level. I know all the big bands are using Quad Cortex, but if they want to be successful with small bands, then problematically, it means they're playing crappy venues where things like that can happen. You don't want 2 minutes of dead stage time. So companies are making little battery packs that you can add onto the end of the Quad Cortex power supply that keep charge. So if anything cuts out, it defaults to the battery momentarily for a limited time to allow you to, so the Quad Cortex doesn't cut out. So there are all these things that people are having to create for Quad Cortex to make it a giggable unit, whereas Helix has literally never had that problem. It runs on a
Yeah.
proper IEC. You could throw them at someone and it would still work. They're well built and reliable, and the reason they've got this long out of them, and the reason they're struggling with Stadium, is there's still nothing wrong with the original ones. They're really
Yeah.
good still. They
They
just
are.
made it too good.
I think they did. Having heard now, I've got a friend of mine who keeps sending me samples of the new Stadium. He's gigging it. He's really, really impressed with the amps over it. And at first, like the YouTube videos I heard, I didn't hear a big improvement in the sounds, to be really honest. He's dialing in some stuff that he's sending me that I'm like, no, that sounds better. I think it does sound better, but I think that's a key point. And then we're going to get ready to move over to Patreon. Listeners, this is me telling you that for $5 a month over on patreon.com/40watt podcast, you can get bonus episodes. Me and Joe are going to go talk more. How's that for quickly doing the ad read? He is talking about using it and how he's dialing things in and he's really enjoying it so far. There have been some videos that have come out about software issues and glitches and bugs that still aren't worked out yet. People are having some issue. You know what? It's still a new release that's going to happen. Back in my day, we used to finish a product before we released it. No, I'm not gonna say that. I'm also a video gamer, and I understand that that's the world we live in now. People release betas as full video game, and they say we'll fix it later. We'll make this enjoyable later. We just need to get it out. But the quad cortex feels very much like this was meant to go on a pedal board. The helix feels very much like, no, this is all you need. So yeah, so Joe, I think we're going to go over to Patreon. We're going to chat a little more. This is where I would normally tell you to hype all your things, but all my listeners know who you are. They know about the Guitar Nerds. They know about the links down below. They know I've been on way more episodes than anyone ever expected me to be on. And so they need to go check it out. Your next episode should be dropping
Uh,
probably about the time this episode's dropping.
yeah, I guess next episode for Patreon listeners would be this Friday. So Monday, following Monday. Yeah, that's it.
Perfect. So go check out Monday's episode where Joe talks maybe even more about NAMM releases and other news.
Inevitably.
If you like new releases and talking about gear that's just come out, if that's your jam, more episodes like this one that we just recorded, Guitar Nerds is for you. That is the episode, that is the show where this kind of stuff comes out. I know here on 40 Watt, we're usually a little more conversation based about people and their roles in the industry. That's why I like having Joe on, because it's like a little taste of the Guitar Nerds over here on 40 Watt. All right, Joe, anything else you want to tell people about before we head out?
This year is going to be Gibson's year.
Oh, I like the prediction. Maybe that's the title. Is this Gibson's year? And then we only say something in minute 61.
Great idea.
Awesome. Listeners, we'll see you over on Patreon for those of you that are Patreon supporters. And for the rest of you, we'll see you on the next episode. In the meantime, be good to yourselves, be kind to each other, and make some noise.